In today's video, we are going to be reacting to Simplynessa15 talk about the scary reason why she threw out all of her crystals and her spiritual stuff. Now, this has been on my homepage for over a year probably, and I just never wanted to watch it. I could just assume what it was about. A lot of the times we think that our external reality is evil based on bad things that are happening in our lives, and we might, blame a crystal, or we might blame another person. And I have a good feeling that this is what this video is going to be about. I have not watched it yet, but I can assume that's what it is. And I'm at a point in my life where I know I can share valuable information with you guys about this topic, and hopefully Simplynessa, if she happens to watch this video. The first thing I can see is that the comments are turned off. I wonder if she was getting a lot of hate for this video, if people were telling her maybe she wasn't doing it right or whatever it may be. I have no idea. We'll see what she talks about in the video, but I do find it interesting that the comments are turned off with such a controversial type of video.
So today we're going to be talking about the scary reason I got rid of all of my crystals, my tarot cards. I threw all that stuff out, and as many of you guys know, I'm very much into like supernatural stuff, paranormals, new age religion, spirituality. But I did start having a couple of weird situations and incidents that basically led me to just completely get rid of all this stuff, just trash it. I don't want anything to do with it. Anytime somebody reaches out to me on some, hey, I want to do a reading for you, no, I'm not interested. I don't.
Okay, that is a big red flag. First and foremost, never ever accept a reading from somebody online that comes to you saying, hey, I want to give you a reading. That is a scam alert. That is a huge red flag. This happens a lot on Instagram. I know family members who have been targeted for this and have fallen for it. It is so devastating to the spiritual community. It gives us such a bad rep. So if somebody comes into your DMs and is like, hey, I sense some negative energy, I want to give you a reading, absolutely do not take it. That is a way for them to scam you, and they will most likely say something like, oh, I sense like a dark cloud around you. I have to do this cleansing ritual that's going to cost you probably $1,000 to get rid of this energy. I say this in all my videos, you have so much more power than you think you do. You can release any negative energy yourself. Do not fall for that at all. Just as a side tangent here. But if somebody's coming to you to give you a reading, no.
The reason it took me so long to make this video is because I felt like I was going to be disrespectful, and I felt like, well, not intentionally disrespectful, but I felt like because so many people are into this right now, and it does provide healing, I guess, for some people, and it does actually help some people. I want to put a disclaimer in the beginning. I am not trying to come across as disrespectful. I am not trying to make anything seem evil or try to imply that anything is evil, but we all have our own, experiences with things, and that could go with anything in life. Because at one point this did really help me a lot, but everything just started going downhill, and I don't know what could have possibly caused it. So this is not only just like a chit chat, but this is also like a question.
I'm curious to see what was going downhill.
What do you think could have possibly happened? Because everything was going smoothly, and then out of nowhere, like this stuff just kind of like took a turn.
Interesting that she's asking for insight when the comments are turned off. Obviously, the comments were not in her favor at that point. I know that I could probably give her some insight into what was going on, and at least you guys as well, so that this doesn't happen to you, whatever it is.
The story starts in 2017 during one of my worst eras. When a lot of people started to not like me. And I had a meetup in Arizona. I went back to go visit my family. But one of my girlies or the Rat Pack at the time, actually gave me a gift, and she gave me like a card, a couple other little things, but she also gave me 2 crystals, and I had no idea like what these crystals were. I know one was like a purple one, and then one looked like a rainbow.
The purple one was most likely an amethyst or like a charoite or something like that, and the rainbow one could have been a fluorite. That's what I kind of envision in my head, because I always describe it as a rainbow, but really could be anything.
Gave me this book that like had literally everything in it. Like it had every single name of every crystal, so I knew like my shit. I knew what I was talking about. These days, no, I forgot. My short-term memory, I don't know if it's from smoking weed or if it's just from being stupid. I just had that, in my room, and I became friends with this girl. how did we become friends? Part of the book was like, oh, like all different kinds of crystals, minerals, like different rocks and stuff. The middle of the book, you actually wrote like manifestation. So like it was like a couple of pages of just like blankness, and it's like, oh, what do you wish for? Like, what do you want to happen? So like I would just write in there randomly like the same thing over and over, like, I want Briella lashes to do good. I want Briella lashes to do good. Like just like stuff like that.
That's not how you manifest, and that's also, manifesting isn't wishing. I just want to throw that out there. You don't write, I want X. There's a lot more to it than just doing that, but I'm sure she knows that by now.
And the other half of the book actually had spells and stuff in it. Now, I wasn't really so much interested in like the spell stuff because I don't know much about like magic and witchcraft and all that, and I'm just really not trying to
cringes.
Dip my toes in that kind of stuff either and then like screw myself.
There is so much wounding and stigma around the word witch. I have an entire video about why we're so afraid of the word witch, and it's amazing. I actually love that video, so proud of it. I highly recommend you watch it. I will link it up here for you to watch next. If you are anybody who thinks the way she does or she cringes at that word, that's because there's so much wounding around the word witch. Think about all the different witch trials that have happened over thousands of years. I'm not going to go too far into it in this video because I, again, made an entire other video about this topic, but millions and millions of women, and also some men, but mostly women, were murdered and tortured because of their connection to nature, because they went out and gathered herbs, they talked to the trees and connected with animals and felt a deep connection to the land, which we have lost over these thousands and thousands of years. And it's so upsetting. This is ingrained in our DNA. This is imprinted in who we are, and this wound has gone through generation after generation after generation to where we are now, to where people cringe at the word witch because if she's outside, you know, using herbs, gathering things, gathering tools to make whatever the heck she's making, you're a witch and you're evil. And this wound doesn't just exist in women, it also exists in men too, because they had to watch millions and millions of women suffer because of this. So a lot of people aren't comfortable with the word witch or witchcraft because they know what's happened before. We all know it. It's imprinted in who we are. So a lot of people now are reclaiming the word witch and bringing power back to it because it was taken from us in our ancestors for thousands and thousands of years.
Because of her, I definitely got into like crystals and all that. She started taking me to these little like retreats in Sedona, because Sedona was only like an hour away, so like it wasn't that far. There was a couple of them in Phoenix. There's like this like small like theater type thing. So in the theaters, it would be like 30 to 50 people there, and at the ritual like circle things, because it would be like a bunch of people just like sitting in a ring. Well, not a bunch, it'd be like 10 or 12 people at like the Sedona ones. But the Sedona one was free, and you could just kind of like show, I think it was like a word of mouth thing. So like those were probably her friends, or like she knew those people personally, because like
I find it interesting that she doesn't really know what these were. I'm taking that as a red flag. When you go into, you know, a circle or a ritual of some sort, it's important to know what you're going to. If it's a new moon circle, a full moon circle, you have to have intention behind what you're doing in order for these things to work. So it's just interesting that she had no idea really what was happening. I feel like her friend should have told her. She should have done some research and decided for herself if it was a place she wanted to go or not. Definitely use your own sovereignty and judgment when going to certain events and places like this, because you want to know what you're doing. Otherwise, there's no point in doing what you're doing.
You know, I would take all my crystals, I'd have my little like sack full of them, and we would take them, we'd put them all out in front of us, and we would all just kind of like do a little prayer type thing, just start chanting.
A prayer, girl, you were doing witchcraft. You were. That, whether you knew it or not. A lot of people are doing it whether they know it or not. Like even just setting an intention when you make your cup of coffee for the day, that is technically witchcraft. If you're using essential oils, like, and you're tapping into whatever wisdom is within them, like if it's good for your skin, if it's good for a rash, whatever it is, that is what people would call as witchcraft. It's using the wisdom of the plants, using the wisdom of yourself. It's not that scary. It's not scary at all, actually.
We just start chanting like positive affirmations out into the world.
Positive affirmations, manifestation, all of it ties together. Witchcraft, I know that it has such a stigma around it, so I'm just going to use the word to kind of desensitize you to it, but witchcraft is about crafting your wisdom. So you are essentially manifesting what you want. When you're manifesting, when you're making a vision board and you're holding an intention of whatever it is that you want for the year, and you have all the images and everything, guess what? That's witchcraft. You're cultivating and crafting your wisdom. So you might be a witch and be watching this and not even want to like identify with that word. I get it. There's a lot of stigma around it, but so many different things are witchcraft. Even in Christianity, baptisms, incense, holy water, eating the bread and drinking the wine. That's a ritual. It's everywhere. And that's because it's such a deep part of us. We're supposed to be connected to this earth, but we've lost touch with that.
We would meet up at like the Sedona vortexes. I don't know if you've ever heard of those before, but in Sedona, Arizona, there's like, I don't know how many, maybe like 5 or 6 of them around that. Just a space that has like really high energy, that people believe that like, you know, you can get clearing and energy healing and emotional healing and just free your mind type thing. So, you know, we would go to those and like everything was fine, everything was fun. Like I didn't have any bad experiences so far. Now things started getting kind of weird when she started taking me to this like other theater place. I can't even remember like what it was called because she drove most of the time. Like I was just chilling in the car, and if I'm gonna be honest with you as well, I was fried most of the time.
Okay, so I don't have any judgment against anybody who smokes or anything like that. But when you're going to a place like this and you hold some sort of fear, because I can tell that she has a fear around the word witchcraft, and fear can do a lot of things. It can manifest itself externally. And when you're quote unquote fried, it's almost like you're allowing yourself to just receive everything without using your judgment. And she doesn't know where she was. I don't know where she was. I think she should have done more research into where she was going, so at least she had more awareness and could have made a decision for herself of whether she wanted to go or not, because that is so important when you're doing this kind of stuff. What feels good to you? It might have felt good to her friend, but maybe it didn't resonate with her, and maybe it brought up that fear. And fear, again, can do a lot of different things. It can stir up your inner shadows and externalize itself. If you go into a place and believe that something negative can happen and that something negative can attach to you, guess what? It can. But if that's not a part of your reality, if you don't believe that things can attach to you like that, they won't. So I don't really like the idea that she was fried going into these places and didn't know where she was or what she was really doing. That in itself just doesn't give me a great feeling, because you're not fully present. And you do want to be fully present when you're doing ritual and whatever. When you're high and you're doing these kinds of things, sometimes if you're used to what you're doing and you know that it can bring you a deeper connection, that's totally fine. But if you're in a new environment, you don't really know what's going on, you don't have the best judgment of what's happening. So yeah, I wouldn't advise doing that, like smoking and then going somewhere and doing a ritual where you're not sure of who's there, what the intention is behind the ritual.
Like fine, I was fried most of the time, so like I don't even know where this like one place was. We only went there like 1 or 2 times. But the second time we went there, it was like an actual show. Like it was like a performance type thing. And at the end of the performance, they had us doing some sort of ritual. They handed out these little stones that had symbols on them. They're like, everyone, you have to like hold it and then just repeat after me. Had us like, oh, we're gonna pray to this person or something, and I've never experienced that before, so I was like, why are we praying to like somebody specific?
I wish you could give more detail on this, like what were the stones, what was the significance of the symbol. Again, going into these kinds of places, it is helpful to know that kind of information beforehand. The first thing I think of are rune stones, but if everybody had them and there were a bunch of different people, I'm not entirely sure if that was the case. And she says pray to a person. I'm curious to know if it was an actual person or if she's interpreting a person as like a goddess or a god, some sort of deity energy. But a person, if it was an actual person, of course that'd be creepy. Do not do that. I'm more so leaning towards the fact that it might have been just like a goddess that she didn't recognize the name of. That information would have been really helpful if she had that in the video, but I guess she just didn't know. And her friend should have told her where she was going. That is so important. You have to have friends. If they're into this kind of thing, they need to tell you what you're doing, what you're getting yourself into. They should be excited to like help you get into this space. If they just let her go in there blind, I don't think they're a very good friend.
Once we started doing this thing, like it kind of felt like I fell into a trance type thing. Like I didn't feel like I was myself. I didn't feel like I was like there, if that makes sense. Like I felt like I was like outer body type thing. It was really weird and uncomfortable.
So that is common if you're doing like meditation or if you have like drums and you're listening to sound healing and things like that. Maybe she was in that state because of that, but I could sense that she does have this fear within her around this ritual. So I think that that fear really manifested something for her, because this does seem like the pivotal point within the story of where things start to change. So I also want to throw it in there that rituals don't work if you don't know what you're doing. So if she had the stone in her hand and she didn't know what she was doing, she was praying to somebody that she didn't know who she was praying to, and encompassing that with fear, that's not really a good idea. But if you're in the moment and you understand what the stone means, if you understand the energy that you are calling in or you're devoting yourself to or whatever it is in that moment, that can be really helpful and really powerful. If you're saying those affirmations out loud, calling in whatever energy, that can be really healing and super powerful. But I think, again, that the fear really did get to her here. Don't let fear interfere, okay? Understand your power. We're taught to be afraid of the unknown. And to a lot of people, witchcraft is the unknown. So she has no idea what she's doing. It's going to cause fear within her. But if she doesn't let that bother her, then it could have been a beautiful experience. And I'm sure it was a beautiful experience for other people who were there. But witchcraft and the New Age movement is not new. Again, this has been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. We're connecting to the old ways that people used to live. And it's empowering to so many different people. It's in our bloodlines. This was what our ancestors were doing. If you go around the world, there are so many different people and tribes that are doing quote unquote witchcraft, and nobody bats an eye. It's normal there. They're healers. Their communities love them. But here in the West, it's evil. It's automatically demonized. So again, don't let fear interfere with whatever is right for you.
So we ended up leaving early. I was like, girl, I'm sorry. Like, I don't feel safe here. I don't feel like the vibes are not like what I thought they were going to be. And she's like, okay, like we could leave, let's go. So, you know, she dropped me off at home and that was that. But ever since, you know, I went to that whole little like show ritual, whatever. Remember, keep in mind, like I mentioned that this girl wasn't only into like crystal healing and stuff, she was also into like witchcraft and like spells.
Girlfriend,
and like
so
all
were
that
you.
stuff. And I have absolutely
You were
no
doing it
knowledge on
too.
any of that stuff. I probably should have also looked more into the show that she took me to, because like for all I know, like maybe we were worshiping the devil. I don't know. I don't know. I trusted her to an extent because, you know, she was my friend. I didn't think she was going to take me to anything like sketchy.
Definitely true. You should definitely understand where you're going so you can understand what you can expect. And that way you can really harness the energy that you need to show up as, so that everybody can benefit from you being there, because you're going to benefit from them. They're going to benefit from you. It's a community event. So that's how those work. So here's my belief, and take it for what you will. The devil is in your mind. It's the underworld of our subconscious, right? We have our shadows, we have our internal demons, and when we let fear rule our minds, they can come out. If we don't do shadow work, those can run about all over our lives and cause mayhem. And by doing shadow work, you alchemize that and you heal it. So shadow work is so important. If you're not doing it, I highly recommend it, because otherwise you are feeding these negative energies, negative entities within yourself. The more you fear this kind of thing, the more you amplify it, the more you give it power, and the more you see yourself within the mirror, and the mirror is your external reality. So whatever's going on inside of you, you are going to see as a reflection. If it's negative, if it's evil, if there's shadows that are really, really heavy and wounding and patterns that you just haven't broken yet, they're going to show up everywhere as a reflection, so you can see it and acknowledge what's happening so that you can heal it and move forward and release that shadow. All magic is within you.
So we went to that little show or whatever. She took me home because, like I said, I did not feel comfortable at all. And after that, I feel like my life just kind of like went downhill a bit.
I'm glad that she did leave though, because if you don't feel safe, 100% leave. It's all about what you feel. Again, you are in control of this. The magic is you. So if you're there, you don't feel safe, you're going to just create more fear. If you're going to manifest, literally manifest fear instead of love or positivity or abundance or whatever the spell was or ritual the intention was behind it. We don't know because she didn't know either. But I think that her witch wound is really, really showing itself here, and it's okay. It's okay if you don't feel safe to leave. If you're not ready to accept this wisdom, this ancient wisdom that's again within our bloodlines, it's like the base of humanity. All ancient cultures had some sort of relationship with nature. That's all we had. And that's how we created magic. And magic is real and it's beautiful. If you're not ready for it, then don't do it. Don't take part in it. You need to honor it and know what you're getting into. And I think that the most important part is that you feel safe and you feel safe within yourself. So I would recommend her, if she wasn't feeling safe doing this kind of thing, to go within to really heal those shadows that are clearly showing themselves to her with her fear, so that she can go into these things in the future if she wanted to from a safe place and feel safe within herself.
The thing is, like, I went to that show with her specifically. Like, I kind of like stopped going for a little while, but she kind of dragged me out, like, come on, let's go, let's go. Like, you've been having a hard time lately. I just wasn't doing good mentally. And I noticed around this time, like after I went to that show, like I'm not blaming everything on that show, because like sometimes you just go through things in life.
That's the key. She says she wasn't doing good mentally, and that's the point where things started to go downhill. Again, a lot of the times our internal shadows show ourselves externally. So I think that might have been a moment for her where she really was able to release some of her shadows, not like release her demons or whatever, but like maybe that was like a ritual in which she was able to see herself for what was really happening within herself. Now, I've been talking a lot about this on my channel recently, and that's if you have a lot of shadows and darkness within you, you will start to see that in your external reality. Your subconscious will show itself to you by the people you interact with, by the different events that are happening. It's all triggering you so that you can internalize it and alchemize it, fix it, heal it, come to terms with it, and then release it. And then that no longer is going to happen in your life. Bad people aren't going to come into your life, bad friends. If the same kind of friend is constantly coming into your life, why? Look at yourself. What are you drawing them in for? What is it that they're a reflection of within yourself? And if you feel like you need to have protection from something, you have to look at what you're trying to protect yourself from yourself. What is scary about yourself that you'd feel like you need protecting from? Heal that, and then you won't need protection, because you can decide nobody's energy has any effect on me. Affirm it, and it's true.
But at this point, it was just really weird. Like, it was like back to back, people were coming into my life that did not have good intentions at all, and they were just like wreaking havoc on me. Even people from like the past, or like exes, or like ex-friends, or just anything along the lines of that. Like, my life just got really, really negative. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I'm not putting out negative energy into this world. I'm, you know, doing my positive stuff. And
she says she's not putting out negative energy into the world, but what is going on within herself, in her internal world? That's the big difference here. These people were a reflection of what was going on inside of her. Every single person we see on the street that we have an interaction with can tell us something else about ourselves. That is magic. Everything can be seen as magic. Even right now, what am I triggering for you right now within yourself? Is it a cozy feeling? Is it a negative feeling? Like, what is it? Am I really making you uncomfortable by saying the word witch? Like, what is it? And look within yourself. Why is that? What's going on? If it's positive, why do I make you feel that way? If it's negative, why do I make you feel that way?
But during this time, like I said, like a lot of people were coming into my life and just causing like just bad stuff. I even like, and it's not even like, oh, just like on some like, oh, your ex popped up and like they ruined your headspace. No, like I actually had like ex-friends come into my life, and it's not because like we stopped being friends for like a bad reason. We just stopped being friends because we fell off or somebody moved away or something. So why was it like so negative? Like, these people were treating me like shit. They were, you know, putting really bad thoughts into my head and making me feel worthless and making me, you know, just feel less than. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I thought these people came into my life to be my friends. Like, I thought like, oh, like now I'm gonna finally, because like realistically, y'all, I only have like 2 friends, and like I don't know, like I just felt really lonely, and I just, you know, I thought these people were gonna come into my life with like good intentions and all that, and it just ended up being like really bad. Like, one situation being that like my friend was going through a hard time, so I was like, hey, just come and stay with me at my house for a couple days. We could have like a really good time, we could chill. And then we ended up going and doing like a little trip out of state, and it was the worst time of my life. That is a whole story in itself. Like, it was the worst trip of my life. I ended up booking a ticket and I went home days earlier and I left them there. Like, I'm sorry. I was like, and I know some people are like, damn, girl, you just left them there. Yeah, like, I left them at the hotel. Like, I was like, you got your own money. Like, you have your own ticket. Like, I changed mine. I'm going home. I don't feel safe around you.
I really wish I could talk to her one-on-one to really figure out what the context was behind this story so that I could put the pieces together to figure out where this is showing a wound within herself. Because I would say in that moment, she learned that those friends were not meant to be in her life and that they had originally left for a reason. And maybe she welcomed them back in because she was lonely, but now she's strong enough to realize that they were treating her badly and that they need to leave her life, that she's worth having good friends, and that being lonely is better than having negative people, nasty people, people who make you feel small in your life. You are worth so much more than that, and I feel like she realized that in that moment, which is a positive in my mind. So maybe that wound came to show itself and she released that one in that moment. So good for her for leaving. I wish I knew the context though.
What's another situation that happened, y'all, when I got beat up at that taco stand, when I was at the fair and somebody just randomly came up to me and poured their drink all over me down my back? Just like little things like that. It's like, what is going on right now?
So if I were like doing this with a friend or a client or something and I was analyzing a situation, I would have been like, why do you feel like you're being dumped on by other people? Like, why do you feel so small? What's going on within you that you feel like this can literally happen to you? And the fact that it actually happened to her is a real sign that she needs to look within and figure out, why does she feel so small? I can even understand like how she's kind of slunching down and being a little whatever about certain things. Like, no, you are powerful, you are strong, you are a beautiful woman. You understood that those friends needed to leave. She understood her worth in that moment. So I hope that since this video's come out that she like understands how strong she is and how powerful she is, because getting something poured on you is a huge symbol. Again, I wish that I could talk with her to really understand this and really break this down and understand what the drink represented, because it was being poured on her head and her mind. So I want to be able to piece it all together. This is how you kind of break down shadow work. You see the external symbols and you internalize it and figure out where the problem is. How is it a reflection of what's going on inside of yourself?
I am not like this big poppin' influencer where it's like, oh my god, like you see my face and you know who I am, like I'm celebrity. Like, no, people don't know who I am. So it's like, why would just people randomly target me for like all this really negative stuff to all happen within like 2 months? So fast forward a little bit, like I said, I ended up cutting all these people back out of my life. So here I am being lonely again, like back to what I was before.
Girl, you're not lonely. You know your worth. I don't have a lot of friends either. Side note, I know my worth. I know the friends that I want to have in my life, and I won't accept less than that. I know the people that I deserve to have in my life. I'm a good friend. I don't want fake friends in my life. And the second I see one show up, bye. I'm proud of her for doing that. It's worth it. And being lonely is totally different than being alone. It's a total mindset thing.
Conveniently, I met Anthony like a month after all of that. So like, that lonesomeness didn't last for long. But he saw all my crystals and stuff. Like the first time I had him come over to my house, like he saw all my crystals, he saw all the like books and stuff, and he got kind of like freaked out by that. And he's like, that stuff is like, it's not like weird or anything to me, but like it's kind of scary. He's like, it's kind of demonic feeling. He's like, do you like practice witchcraft or whatever? I was like, no, child, I don't do all that.
Yes, you do. Based on what she had said about praying over the crystals, girl, yes, you were. But again, I have that entire video on the witch wound that I really want you guys to go and watch. If you're triggered by the word witch, or if you feel the same way she does or he does, where you're like, ugh, go and watch that video. It's super insightful. I'm really proud of that video. It has a lot of great knowledge within it. And witchcraft is literally crafting your wisdom. A lot of people like to externalize fear and evil onto other things like people and rocks and tarot cards and whatever, but it's all internal. It's all internal. Tarot cards, they are paper. Crystals, they are rocks. They are beautiful works of art from the earth. But guess what? The grass, the trees, the streams, it's all earth. It's all the same. So if I had a cup of water in my room, is that going to be considered evil? What is it about that that makes people so triggered? I have the answer to that, thankfully, in that video. It's all about remembering who we were divinely meant to be, not this day-to-day BS of the current world, 9-to-5 life, where we don't ever get to spend time with ourselves, connect to the wisdom, connect to God, to source, the goddess, living in harmony with one another, with plants, with animals, with nature. It's connecting.
So once me and Anthony did actually move in together, he asked me if I would be okay with like moving all my crystals and stuff out of the bedroom.
Bye.
Because I had my bed
You
right
can
here, and we were
leave. The
all
crystals
right there
can
directly
stay.
next to it. And he said he had like a bad vibe about it. He just didn't feel comfortable like putting his head down and going to sleep next to that.
Maybe she needed
So
to
for some reason,
cleanse
like I don't know, I felt
them
like an attachment
too.
towards them, and I didn't want to get rid of them. So I was like, you know what? I'll put them all in a bag, but I'm just gonna put them in my closet. I'm not about to like throw these all away because like I spent all this money on them. Like I told you guys, some of them were like $1, but some of them were like up to $100 each, and I had like 20 to 30 of them. So just like imagine how much money I've actually like put into it. And I just also had this like weird like attachment to them, so I didn't want to for some reason. But I was like, you know what, whatever, I'm just gonna move them into my closet. I left them in there. But the one thing that I did leave out was this little stick of white sage that girl gave me. And she told me anytime like vibes feel off or anything feels weird in your home, just burn this. So I started burning that around the home because like, I don't know.
She's so like, meh, you know. No, like if you're doing that, you need to have intention. I mean, maybe she is just because she's telling this story and feels uncomfortable, and maybe she did do this in the right way, but you need to have authority. You need to have confidence in what you're doing when you're doing this kind of thing, because it's all coming from within yourself. If you feel like there's negative vibes in your house and you're like, please leave, why would they leave? You need to have authority and confidence.
I was like, oh, maybe like if we go to like one of the vortexes, because that stuff always brought me peace, like maybe if we take all the crystals out there and do something like that, like maybe it'll make us feel better. So like I planned the whole trip out and everything, and keep in mind I ended up finding out that I was pregnant a couple of days before we went on the trip, so like we were also gonna kind of like celebrate that as well. And then because I was gonna be like clearing my energy, I thought that like that was the right time to do it, since you know like I was gonna bring a baby into this world and I wanted to have like a healthy pregnancy and all of that. So while we were out in Sedona, we did visit all the vortexes and stuff, but we actually also went to like a couple crystal shops. And I don't know why all of a sudden he changed his mind, but like he was actually wanting some of them. Like he saw them all and he's like, oh my god, like I want to get a couple of them. We ended up getting like matching bracelets. I had a purple one and he had a black one. It was like a black stone, black tourmaline, I don't even know. And the next day we went to another shop and they actually had like this little book that once again had all of like the names of the crystals and just everything that you know like you could possibly want to know about like crystal healing and all that. But they also included some little rituals in there as well. So I was like, okay, like maybe we should do one of those. So we ended up doing one of them. And I will admit, after doing it, I did feel a little off. I didn't feel like, you know, at peace of mind.
It's because she has this stigma, she has this fear around what she's doing. And when you do that, it's going to create more of that in your life. So when you do a ritual, you want to feel good. You want to feel your best self. You want to embody the person that you want to be after the ritual while you're doing the ritual. So if you're feeling a little bit off about what's happening, then it's most likely going to just bring that right back to you. And I feel like she would have felt better if she created her own ritual, which is what I personally do all the time. I've never used a ritual of somebody else's or a book or anything like that. I use my own intuition to find the herbs that I want, the crystals that I want, candles, spell jars, whatever I'm doing. I make it up on my own through my own intuition and what feels right to me, because that makes me feel empowered. And if you're just copying word for word what a book is saying, but you don't feel any power behind it, then it's not going to be effective. Like if I were her, I probably would have come up with some sort of cleansing ritual. Maybe I would have burned some lavender to really welcome in the new peace and calm feeling, and done something with the herb nettle, because nettle is a little bit of a protective herb to kind of keep that calming energy in, kind of like a sealant almost. At least that's how I would have interpreted it. But again, if you want to do something totally different that has meaning to you, that's all you have to do. So she should have done something that had a lot of meaning to her, some sort of cleansing ritual that wasn't really from a book, whatever felt meaningful and made her feel powerful.
After we did one of those little rituals from the books, we did this at one of the vortexes once again. We did it at the one that has like the big church or whatever on the hill. And like I said, immediately I just felt really off. Like I did not Like I felt sick to my stomach, like right afterwards. Like as we were leaving, I was like, something just doesn't feel right after doing that. And he's like, you know what? It's probably just in your head. Like it's whatever. Like let's just go get some food. And I forgot about it. Next day, which I find this is so fucking convenient that this happened. Another one of my friends, she practices Reiki. I don't know how to pronounce
Reiki
it.
healing.
But she practices that, and she was like, oh, like I'm passing through Sedona. I'm like, girl, why are you here? But she's like, oh, like I want to come over. I want to do like a little healing session on you. Like after she did her little like cleansing thing on me, I felt worse. I didn't feel better at all. And I told her too, I was like, that didn't help me at all. Like if anything, like I feel worse. I felt worse after that. I did not feel like cleansed or healed. I just felt like everything just like got even worse. So now we're only there for maybe like one more day, and we decided to go through like a couple more shops, but then we ended up going into another crystal shop. And tell me why the second I walked into there, my intuition and something told me like, leave, don't keep walking through the store, you need to get out. So I listened to myself for the first time in my life, and I got out of there.
There you go, there you go. I've actually had that before too. I've walked into a crystal store, it was very dark. I could just feel like the owners were just not good people. I wouldn't recommend buying a stone or anything from a place that makes you feel that way, because you want to feel like it's such an amazing experience. You want to bring something home that makes you feel happy and uplifted and use it as a tool on your journey. But if you're constantly reminded of like where you bought it, and maybe that could trigger some fear within you, just turn around and go to a different one.
So like I said, the next day we ended up leaving Sedona, and unfortunately the next day I ended up having a miscarriage. I don't want to blame all that stuff, but like I just found it really convenient that like back to back, like every time I would dabble in that stuff, like something really negative would happen in my life. And I dabbled in it again, and I lost my baby. So maybe it was just a medical problem. Maybe it was like, you know, it just wasn't a viable pregnancy.
That's probably why she felt off. Her intuition, her gut feeling was telling her that something was off, and it was her baby. That is so sad. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. And if for whatever reason you are watching this video, I am so sorry that happened to you, but don't blame yourself and what you were doing for your baby. Don't, no.
But like, I started connecting all these dots and like coming up with shit in my head. Like, what if me messing with this stuff and dabbling in all this like caused that to happen? I don't know. So fast forward again for the 10 millionth time. I just kind of like struggled after that happened, mentally, physically, emotionally, all of that. It was pretty traumatizing, the whole situation, which I'm sure many of you could understand. Like losing a child is not easy. It was really hard. It was not an easy time for me at all. I just feel so weird filming this video. I wanted to film this for so long, but I just feel so uncomfortable telling the story. Like just like mentioning it. Like mentioning all the crystals and all the rituals and all that shit I was doing, like it just feels so like heavy on my chest.
She's so blaming herself for this situation and what she was doing. That is so upsetting and so sad, and I feel for you. That is really difficult to go through, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. I feel like she's really blaming herself for what had happened by using crystals and tarot and doing rituals and whatever, and she's connecting back with that fear of, oh, I lost my baby and it's because I did this thing, because society's told me that what I was doing was evil, was wrong, was bad. And that's not true. That's not true at all. What you were doing was a way for you to try to heal. You just didn't really understand what you were doing. And you know, you had the intention, you wanted to heal, but you didn't really understand the different layers that go into it. And that's okay. It's all a learning experience. But I feel like she's not ready to access this kind of world, this knowledge. It's clear by the fear that she has, and I feel so deeply for her for the loss of her baby, but it did not have to do with the things that she was doing. I made a video about what people get wrong about manifestation, and I'll link it right here. And in that video, I talk about how there's different things that come up in our lives that we don't have control over. And I think that this was one of those things. And the only thing that you can really do about that is learn to just process it. Don't hold things in and create more shadows, you know, really just feel your grief, really process it and release it, which I know is way easier said than done because there's different layers of grief, you know, there's anger, there's frustration, and I feel like she has anger towards herself. So of course you're always going to be sad about what happened, but releasing those holds on yourself, those elements that are going to be holding you down further in your life and create more shadows, release those. You can hold on to the sadness because it's always going to be upsetting that this happened, but release the grief and release the anger that you hold towards yourself.
Me being a dumbass because I didn't heal from it properly, I reached out to that friend again. This was probably like September-ish time. So this was a couple months after it happened, and I just, like I said, I wasn't healing. I wasn't getting any better, and I reached out to her. Well, I can't even talk. I'm stuttering really bad. I reached out to her and I was like, hey, like, can we go to one of those little like things again? I don't know why I thought that was a good idea, but I was like, can we go to one of those again? Because like at one point it did bring me a lot of peace, and I'm struggling really bad right now. I didn't tell any of my friends about like the miscarriage. I told like maybe like my best friend and like one other person, but like that was it. But other than that, like I kept it to myself. I didn't tell her either. But she was like, oh my god, I'm so happy you want to like go to one of these. Like I missed coming or going to them with you. So she sent me the address, and it ended up being one of those places in downtown Phoenix. So I was like, okay, like I told Anthony I was gonna go. I was gonna go by myself, obviously. He didn't want anything to do with that stuff because after our loss of the baby, he instantly thought all of that stuff was evil and didn't want anything to do with it. Like he wanted me to throw all my crystals in the trash. Like he didn't want to see a book. He didn't want to hear it. Like that. It obviously traumatized him as well. He just didn't want anything to do with that stuff, which I respect because like you can't force things on people. But you know, I was like, you know, I'm gonna go to this thing. So this time I decided I was gonna drive myself because I wanted the option to leave. So glad I did, because the second I got there, I kid you not, I started feeling like I was going to puke. My head started hurting, my heart started hurting, like everything. Like I just felt so like, don't go in there. Again, I was getting those like ideas and thoughts in my head, like don't go in there. My intuition telling me like that is not a good idea. I texted her and I said, I'm outside, but something is telling me not to go in there, so I'm just gonna leave. So I drove all the way over there, an hour for no reason, and I drove myself all the way back home.
Since everything in our outer world is a representation of our inner world, I would interpret that as like when she drove away, she was putting herself first. She was putting her physical health, her mental health, her emotional health first, probably for like the first time in a while, or making it a priority at least. And whatever comfort she was looking for from that event, she was able to find it within herself. And I think that's so beautiful because, again, I made another video about crystals and why I don't collect them anymore. I still buy them, but I don't collect them. And it's because a lot of the times we put our expectation on healing on other items. Like these are just tools. Again, you hold all the magic. You hold it. You know what to do. You intuitively know what's best for you. And if driving away from this place that wasn't going to bring you healing was the healing for you, and that is amazing. She did her own thing that made her feel so much better than if she were to go into that place. And I think she may have released some different shadows by doing that, by like constantly looking. Again, I don't know her, but by looking for external healing, when you have the power to heal yourself by releasing your shadows, by alchemizing them, I feel like she did that in that moment by driving away. She listened to her intuition, she listened to her judgment and did what was best for her. She put herself first, she made herself a priority, and I think that is pretty damn great.
And when I tell you, like driving away from that place, I started feeling better. I did. So I was like, okay, that's weird. Like, what's going on with that? Like, why, like, what's telling me that this stuff is, like, wrong? I don't know.
I would argue that it kind of did help her in some ways because she was able to leave that place. Like I said, she was able to understand that she's worthy of good friends, that the friends that left her, goodbye, they don't belong in her life. So I would kind of argue that there was some healing that had been done. I feel like she had alchemized some different shadows within her.
I kind of want to say that because like there's people that actually like are into this and like it helps them and it heals them, and I don't want to like make it seem like it's evil or something, or like there's some like devil worshiping going on, because like I don't know what happened. Maybe it was that one ritual that I went to and like something attached itself to me. But I will tell you, the second I got back to my house, I went and got all my crystals, all my books. I put them all in a bag and I put them straight into my garbage can, straight into my trash can. I didn't even like second guess it. I didn't second think, like nothing. I just went straight into the house, didn't even say hi to Anthony, grabbed everything, threw it away. He was like, oh, okay. But when I tell you, I had the best sleep I have had in months that night, which makes no sense. Like I got rid of all that stuff, took it out of my closet, took it out of my home, put it in the garbage can, put it outside.
It does make sense. You know why? Because that in itself was a cleansing ritual. Again, magic is everywhere. Everything is magic, if you see it in that way. The fact that she went right inside, didn't even acknowledge anybody else. She was in her own state of mind. She went right to the crystals, grabbed them, put them in the garbage can. She took the garbage outside of her home and she let it go. That was a cleansing ritual. She came back inside. She probably felt clear because she had a belief that these crystals were somehow negative or causing harm in her life, that when she threw them out, that released it from her, even if they weren't, but that the belief is what is true for her. That was clearing that energy from the house, and she probably went in there and was like, I feel safe again. I feel at peace. And isn't that the healing now we're all looking for? Were you feeling peaceful within yourself in that moment? Because your home was peaceful, you felt at peace for once. I would say that because she went from that ritual, she left, she used her judgment, she followed her intuition and left, did this cleansing ritual at her house, instead that she felt powerful, that she felt good, that she took control of her life again. And that is clearing out those internal shadows. I guarantee after this point, things started to go better for her in her life because she alchemized so much within herself. This is like, I'm sure that this story like isn't meant to come across this way to anybody else, but I see it as like a full circle moment, that there was a lot of character growth throughout the whole thing.
And like I said, I had the best sleep of my life. Like I felt clarity. I woke up in the morning feeling fresh and brand new. Like I felt like all of my like woes and just everything just got like lifted off of me.
And that's how you should feel after a cleansing ritual. Not off like she did before, but feeling fresh and renewed and at peace and calm. She did it right this time. She followed her intuition, which was literally to just throw them out. But that in itself is a ritual.
Once I got rid of everything, once everything was out of the house, like it just seems like everything just started getting better.
Everything's going better.
This time I was trying to sell my home, and it's like nobody was interested in coming and seeing it. But once I got rid of all this stuff, boom, I have all these people trying to come into my house and like view it all of a sudden.
I wonder if she was able to connect with more people and make more friends now too, because her home was clear that people were wanting to come to her home. She was attracting more people to her home that she was selling. Was she also attracting more better people into her life? Was she attracting more friends? I wonder.
All of a sudden, like all these people are trying to come and see my house, and the house sold immediately. I was struggling to find a place to move into, and then I ended up finding this place. Like just everything just started falling in my lap, and everything just started going the way that it should, I feel like. Not long after all of that, I did end up finding out that I was pregnant again. So I was just like, what is going on?
A rebirth.
Like everything was just going wrong, and then out of nowhere, everything just starts going so right in my life once I stop messing with that stuff and stop going to those rituals, stop hanging out with that girl, which I feel so bad saying that. It's just like ever since I stopped messing with that stuff,
it was within yourself.
Got better out of nowhere.
And it is true, of course, that some people do have negative intentions sometimes, and even people with the best intentions can send you love, send you good vibes, and it can really affect you in a negative way because you're meant to be doing something else. Like you have certain lessons that you have to learn, and their energy may be too strong and be affecting you, holding you back from what you're meant to be doing. So I can make a whole video on that, on like how sending people good vibes or intention setting for other people can really not be a good thing. It can actually have negative effects. Let me know if you want to see that video, but I'm not invalidating her experience that maybe these people weren't good people for her. I'm sure they actually weren't, based on the story that she was saying, but I think that this had a really powerful story behind it of how deeply our shadows can portray themselves in our external world, and how by healing them, even in a way that she doesn't see as healing, it is healing, can totally transform your life for the better. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of her story and what you think of my interpretation of her story, or if you have your own interpretation, I would love to hear that as well. If you want to hear more about the witch wound, and if you're really triggered by that word, definitely go and watch this video. I think you'll really find it helpful. Subscribe for more videos from me, and I will see you guys very soon with another video. Bye!